The topic of this assignment is to address the need for professional learning that is centred around Aboriginal education within my school, and the current issues, or more so, the problems surrounding the implementation of lessons that embed Aboriginal perspectives, histories and culture authentically and respectfully. Throughout this presentation, I will address relevant Department of New South Wales policies and other documents which are specific to the role that Aboriginal education has to play in our New South Wales schools. Examine some of the literature, the history and data which stress the importance of implementing Aboriginal education, how this can be done, why some teachers find it a challenge to do so, and the lack of purposeful and meaningful PLs which allow teachers to build the confidence to engage in lessons with an Aboriginal focus. Stepping into the role of the Aboriginal Education Coordinator at my school, I will address how I perceive my role in this PL context as a transformational leader. I address how as a leader I would facilitate a PL specific to Aboriginal education and what this might look like in terms of making it a positive and practical learning outcome for all staff, so that they are able to build the confidence in this area, and that as a school community we have a shared vision for the educational outcomes for all our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. I will also conclude the presentation with some strategies and further targets which can be measured and assessed. I have also included a statement made by a staff member during a PL session and my questions to them. I begin this presentation by first acknowledging the true custodians of the land upon which this presentation has been made, the Kudjinburra people of the Bundjalung Nation, as I recognise their strong connection to the land, waters and to culture. I would also like to pay my respects to the elders both past, present and of the future. Their stories hold a link to the past and a path to the future. This always was and always will be Bundjalung land. So Aboriginal education in schools, and for the purpose of this presentation, I refer specifically to a New South Wales primary school context. Why is it so important, and why should teachers have to embed Aboriginal perspectives in their classrooms? Now, if we look at all the roles and responsibilities that we as educators take on, one of those responsibilities is to prioritise Aboriginal education and training as core business. As outlined in the New South Wales Department of Education and Training Aboriginal Education Policy, they state that they are committed to improving the educational outcomes and well-being of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students in New South Wales schools. Aboriginal education is important in schools because we know that as educators, we are in the core business of supporting all students with their learning, which includes our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. But we also know that we need to ensure that our staff are culturally competent and confident to support these students as well. Supporting staff with their professional development around Aboriginal education enables staff to be better equipped to establish, build and strengthen relationships with their Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, and also their local Aboriginal communities. It also ensures that our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students are better equipped to secure meaningful and rewarding employment when they leave school and lead healthy and successful lives, as with the hopes for all our students despite their backgrounds. There is a need for all staff to focus on three main elements which encompasses Aboriginal education. That is a focus on relationships, education and ongoing learning. The importance of Aboriginal education is also reflected in the partnership that exists between the New South Wales Department of Education and the New South Wales Aboriginal Education Consultative Group, or the New South Wales AECG as it will be referred to. The New South Wales Department recognises the New South Wales AECG as the peak community advisory body to the Department on all Aboriginal education at all levels and in all stages of planning and decision making, and it is through this strong partnership that there is a commitment and a shared vision of working together with the goal of providing all staff and students with an understanding and an appreciation of the richness and diversity of Aboriginal cultures and histories. It is the strength of this relationship that will ensure that every Aboriginal child and young person in New South Wales achieves their potential through education, and that the learning outcomes of these students will be as good or better than those of the general school population, that the gap closes. By working with the New South Wales Department of Education and Training, the New South Wales AECG is also committed to providing and supporting teachers and other educational staff through professional learning that provides them with appropriate cultural and community knowledge. Another initiative by the department, in collaboration with, which was titled Strong Strides Together, was released last year with a goal of meeting the educational goals for Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander students. The Stronger Strides Together initiative was introduced in July of 2022 based on statistics and evaluations from the Centre for Education Statistics and Evaluation, CESE. CESE was created in 2012 to improve the effectiveness, efficiency and accountability of education in New South Wales. It is focused on supporting decision-making in education delivery and development with strong evidence. CESE analyses and evaluates educational programs and strategies and gauges New South Wales education performance over time through its ongoing core data collections and delivery of analysis and reports. It also monitors national and international strategic agendas to ensure that New South Wales is well positioned to provide leadership in education. CESE provides sound evidence for educators to make decisions about best practice in particular contexts and, importantly, enables teachers to meet the needs of students at every stage of their learning. The paper outlines evidence for 4 underlining themes that can support teachers and school leaders to create high-quality learning environments and meet the educational goals for Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander students. Culturally safe schools, culturally responsive teaching, positive relationships, and personalised learning. When these 4 themes are implemented holistically, it creates and maintains learning environments for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students that enable student success and achievement. To ensure that these themes are addressed, it requires a certain degree of cultural competency amongst staff to feel confident in delivering lessons that embed a rich and authentic Aboriginal content into their teaching and learning. Continually building cultural competency requires both commitment from individual staff and a collective commitment from the school community. School leaders can play a pivotal role in facilitating this collective commitment and ensuring teachers are supported to implement their cultural competency skills in their work. So what does the history and data show us in terms of Aboriginal students' educational outcomes and achievement? And what is happening in the space of Aboriginal education? Where are we currently as a nation? I will look at national data but also address my own school data and targets and address whether those targets are being met and what we can do moving forward in this space. So it has been well researched and documented that the educational outcomes and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students are and have been vastly different to those of non-Aboriginal students. In 2005, the then Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner urged Australian governments to commit to achieving equality for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the areas of health and life expectancy within 25 years, and a report was commissioned in 2006. By the end of 2007, the Australian government pledged to close key gaps in life expectancy, halve the mortality rates for children, and the gap in reading, writing, and numeracy achievements within a decade. By 2008, 6 initial targets were set, with 3 of them educational related. In 2014 and 2015, 2 more educational related targets were added. For the purpose of this PL, I will be referring to 2 of those educational targets. The first of those targets that was set was Target 3, which was to increase the proportion of Indigenous children enrolled in year before full-time schooling, otherwise known as YBFS, early childhood education, to 95% by the year 2025, compared to a baseline figure of 77%, which was in 2016. With an outcome that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children are engaged in high quality, culturally appropriate early childhood education in their early years. Looking at the current data for Target 3 suggests that the target is on track to be met, with an increase of 20% from the baseline set in 2016. So what does this data mean? Are schools finally realising the value and importance of Aboriginal education? And are they beginning to build cultural competency and confidence in this area? Or are the resources that are out there, are they more readily available in most urban and regional areas? This improvement does highlight the importance of ongoing Aboriginal education being taught in schools from an early age, and therefore how vital professional learning is in this area of education as a way of maintaining that steady progress for the target to be met by 2025. The second target, which I'll touch on briefly, is target number 5, which is to increase the proportion of Indigenous Australians aged 20 to 24 attaining Year 12 or equivalent qualification to 96% by 2031, with the outcome being the hope for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students to achieve their full potential. If we look at the current data compared to a 2016 baseline level of 63%, there has only been a slight improvement of 5% within that time. So why only the small improvement? Although this data relates to a high school context, we can only interpret that although Aboriginal education has been viewed as core business and is valued by the department, as so outlined in their department policies and agreements, perhaps the value is lacking or has diminished by the time students are ready to leave primary school. Perhaps there is more to be done for teachers in high school settings to further develop their cultural competency and professional development around Aboriginal education. If I analyse my school data in relation to our current Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, in particular look at their attendance and last year's NAPLAN results, we can see that our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students' attendance rates are good overall, and the students who participated in NAPLAN received results that were at a medium across the median bands for all domains of writing, reading, language conventions and numeracy. Our data tracks a pattern of good attendance and positive results that have been quite consistent over the past few years. Now, if I consider that Aboriginal education and PLs, in my view, was not really a high priority prior to my arrival within that school, I can certainly ascertain that since implementing a couple of PLs focused on developing cultural competency and embedding Aboriginal perspectives, including a staffed professional learning on Aboriginal pedagogies, which was done 2 years ago, it certainly has had a positive effect on our Aboriginal students and the high expectation relationships that we have built and nurtured over the past few years. Further PLs with staff of this nature will only strengthen outcomes even further for our students. With any professional learning opportunities that are focused on Aboriginal education, it should provide teachers with the knowledge and the confidence to support them in embedding Aboriginal perspectives in the classroom and forming those high expectation relationships with the students. In surveying the staff in my workplace, a lot of issues or problems came to the surface, including the staff lacking the knowledge or the expertise in Aboriginal histories and culture, a lack of cultural competency, and most importantly, community consultation with local elders and families, which is very important when trying to build Aboriginal knowledge in the classroom. It has to be authentic and done respectfully in consultation with community. They have to be part of the conversations. Staff also had a fear of being tokenistic or causing offence, and a big one, Who do they reach out to for support? Research shows that there is indeed a lack of teacher awareness of the cultural and historical background of Aboriginal students, and this has long been recognised as a major causative factor in the failure of Australian schools to fully engage Aboriginal students and deliver equitable educational outcomes for them. Literature tells us that it is important that teacher professional learning, especially centred around Aboriginal education, is delivered by Aboriginal people and leaders with Aboriginal community engagement in local schools and addressing deficit discourses that exist in schools about Aboriginal students and their families. To develop cultural competency of staff, schools should engage in regularly planned professional learning opportunities. This may include courses run by the New South Wales Department and the New South Wales AECG. Teachers and school leaders should also seek out opportunities for learning that are specific to the Aboriginal knowledges and cultures of the land upon which the school is located and are delivered by local Aboriginal people. This may involve staff participating in regular local cultural immersion or on-country learning to continually develop knowledge and understanding of local Aboriginal country, histories, cultures, languages, and perspectives. To ensure that this learning is implemented in school practices, school leaders can encourage staff to include cultural competency goals in their professional development plans or PDPs, and can include these goals in their own PDPs. But we know there is still a long way to go to support our teachers with the confidence and ability to teach Aboriginal histories and culture in their classroom. And this all depends on the quality and frequency of PLs around Aboriginal education. In terms of my workplace, this kind of PL around Aboriginal education was not done prior to my role in the 6 years I have been part of the school. Since I have been employed there, I have led 2 hands-on and practical PL sessions that have been engaging and transformational for my staff. When I analysed the 2 types of leaders of professional learning, a transformational leader and an instructional leader, the transformational type of leader suitably applies within this context and has more relevance. Although currently there is a focus on instructional leadership or the leading of teaching for learning, I lightly consider this leadership type in terms of, yes, as a leader I am facilitating PLs which instruct or guide my staff in delivering lessons and activities of an Aboriginal focus. But I believe as also a transformational leader in Aboriginal education, I am supporting our school and staff to build a shared vision. Instructional leadership and leadership for learning does focus mainly on the direction and purpose of a leader's influence, targeted at student learning via the teachers. But there is much less emphasis on the influence of the process itself, unlike transformational leadership, that when it works well, it has the potential to engage all stakeholders in the achievement of educational objectives. There is an emphasis on a shared vision as a central dimension of leadership. As a leader facilitating an Aboriginal education PL, I am expected to engage with staff and other stakeholders such as our local Aboriginal community, families and organisations to produce higher levels of commitment to achieving the goals of our school, which in turn are linked to the vision. That shared vision being to continually building and improving on the educational outcomes for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. And it is only via authentic and purposeful PLs with a focus on building staff's own cultural competency and confidence can this create positive outcomes and development for all. I end this presentation with a statement made by a staff member that arose from a PL I facilitated within my school a few years ago and my questions posed upon them. Oh, I'd like to incorporate Aboriginal perspectives, but I'm scared of doing it in a tokenistic way, so I just don't do it. The activity was around painting a boomerang and whether it was thought to be seen as tokenistic. Did the students engage with Aboriginal people while painting the boomerang, such as an uncle or elder of the community? Did they learn about the boomerang, its uses, the many different kinds of boomerangs traditionally used? Did they learn about how they are made, incorporating an appreciation of early use of physics? And what are some of the various Aboriginal names for the objects? Was the learning experience a rich one that advanced the students' intercultural knowledge and understanding in some way? And did the experience allow the students and teachers an opportunity to meet and talk with Aboriginal people?